Welcome back to Sports Class with Dr. K. It's late December and that can mean only one thing. The Baltimore Ravens are about to collapse in the NFL playoffs. Okay, I don't know if the Baltimore Ravens are going to collapse in the postseason, but somebody's going to have a letdown. Only one team can win the Super Bowl after all. But whatever happens this season, none of the teams who let us down this postseason will rival the 5 teams we're going to talk about in today's episode, some of the biggest letdowns in NFL postseason history. So let's get to it. Number 5, the New England Patriots in 2007. Now, it might be a stretch to call a team that made it to the Super Bowl a postseason disappointment, but as many of you will remember, this is that New England Patriots team that went undefeated in the regular season and had all the expectations to go down in history as the greatest NFL team of all time. They made it all the way to the Super Bowl only to lose to the New York Giants. The Patriots were coming off a successful but somewhat disappointing 2006 season in which they went 12-4 but lost in the postseason to Peyton Manning and the Indianapolis Colts. And conventional wisdom headed into 2007 was that Manning was the best quarterback in the NFL and the Colts were the best team. The Patriots, Bill Belichick, Tom Brady were about to shatter that conventional wisdom in 2007. So led by head coach Bill Belichick, the GOAT Tom Brady at quarterback, and Randy Moss, one of the all-time great wide receivers, this team shattered all kinds of offensive records during that 2007 season. Shaking off a few rough spots during the preseason, they hit their stride in the regular season. Over the first 8 games of the year, they outscored their opponents by 204 points. That's more than 25 points each game. Their closest game came in Week 6 against the Dallas Cowboys when they trailed at halftime, only to blow out the Cowboys 27-3 in the second half. After the greatest first half of a season in NFL history, the Patriots wobbled a bit down the stretch during this season. Their closest game came in Week 9 against the Colts, who actually led by 10 points halfway through the fourth quarter. They also survived late game scares against the Eagles and the Ravens. So things looked a little bit shaky in the second half of the year, but they were still 15-0 heading into their final game, which came against, guess who? The New York Giants and Eli Manning. This was a close game all the way down to the wire, but the Patriots won 38-35 and secured that undefeated regular season. But it did show a potential weakness against those Giants, and of course it was the Giants who beat the Patriots in the Super Bowl, which led to this disappointment. Now, of course, any of you who saw that game or have seen highlights remember the incredible catch to David Tyree, who caught the ball against his helmet, not to mention Eli Manning's incredible escape of a sack on that same play. It was sort of a miraculous finish that led to the Patriots' defeat. Finally, this season was also tarnished because this is the year when they underwent Spygate. After a Week 1 victory over the New York Jets, the Patriots were accused of filming the sideline and signals during that game. Eventually, they were penalized. They were fined and lost a draft pick because of that. But for many, this game and this season is one of the reasons why the Patriots are regarded as cheaters and not necessarily the greatest team of all time. And of course, there's some reflection of that in the current filming scandal that the Patriots are suffering. Number 4, the 2004 Pittsburgh Steelers. The Steelers are one of the NFL's proudest franchises, but in 2003 they had slumped to one of their worst seasons in recent memory at 6-10. 2004 didn't look to be much different in the early going. They split their preseason games at 2-2 and then opened the regular season at 1-1. It might have felt like things were going to get even worse as their starting quarterback, Tommy Maddox, got injured in that Game 2 defeat against the Baltimore Ravens. But nobody could have known that rookie quarterback Ben Roethlisberger would step in and lead the Pittsburgh Steelers to an undefeated season the rest of the way. Unlike the high-flying 2007 Patriots, this Steelers team was a tough, gritty, down-in-the-trenches team. They won a lot of close games, 6 games by less than a touchdown. They were led by their tough, square-jawed coach Bill Cowher and the tough running of Jerome Bettis and Deuce Staley and the solid quarterbacking of Ben Roethlisberger. There were some impressive wins along the way. In Week 8, they knocked off the Patriots, who had the longest winning streak in NFL history at that point, 21 games. And then the following week, the Steelers beat the last undefeated team in the league, the Philadelphia Eagles. But their luck ran out in the postseason. After beating the New York Jets in the divisional round, they once again faced those New England Patriots, who just had their number right out of the gate in that final game. An 87-yard pick six by safety Rodney Harrison sealed their fate. While the Steelers bounced back to win the Super Bowl the following season, this letdown after the 2004 season amounts to one of the NFL's biggest disappointments. Number 3, the 2011 Green Bay Packers. The Packers came off the 2010 season on a high as Super Bowl champions. That team had gone 10-6, but as a wild card team went on a run through the playoffs, ultimately winning the Super Bowl. So hopes were high in 2011 to surpass even the accomplishments of that Super Bowl winning team. Led by superstar Aaron Rodgers at quarterback and Clay Matthews on defense, the 2011 team looked primed to do just that. Like the Patriots team mentioned previously, the Packers lost their first preseason game, but then went on a historic run, winning their next 3 in the preseason and 13 straight to open the season itself, including a Week 1 victory against the last team to win the Super Bowl, the New Orleans Saints, 42-34, which signaled they were ready to knock off the best teams in the NFL. There were only a few close calls along the way before a Week 14 loss to the Kansas City Chiefs 19-14. One of those close calls, though, came against the New York Giants in Week 13, which the Packers defeated 38-35. But it turned out to be those same New York Giants who knocked off the Packers in the postseason. The Giants beat the Packers in the divisional round 37-20 and ended the Packers' remarkable season. So rather than becoming known as one of the greatest teams in NFL history, the Packers wound up at 15-1 and instead as one of the NFL's biggest postseason disappointments. Number 2, the 1998 Minnesota Vikings. This is another team that went 15-1 only to fail to make it to the Super Bowl. The 98 Vikings are one of the NFL's most prolific offensive teams, scoring more than 500 points on the season. They were led by the great Randall Cunningham at quarterback, 2 Hall of Famers at wide receiver, Randy Moss and Chris Carter, and a great defense as well, which finished 6th in the league, led by the ferocious John Randall. They looked to be rolling late in the season, scoring 38 points or more in 4 out of their last 6 games, including a 41-21 thrashing of the Arizona Cardinals in the divisional round of the playoffs. Unfortunately for the Vikings, they ran into a somewhat overlooked 14-2 Atlanta Falcons team in the playoffs. The Falcons took advantage of some uncharacteristic Minnesota mistakes and questionable coaching decisions. Most notably, Minnesota kicker Gary Anderson, who had literally not missed a field goal all season long, missed a 39-yard field goal late in the game that would have put the Vikings ahead by 10 points with less than a minute remaining. Instead, the Atlanta Falcons were able to tie the game, headed into overtime, and defeated the Vikings, ending their remarkable season. And number 1, I'm going to give you a twofer here. The 1934 and 1942 Chicago Bears. Now everybody remembers the 2007 Patriots as going undefeated in the regular season and not winning the Super Bowl. But the Chicago Bears actually accomplished that feat twice back in those early decades. The Bears are one of the NFL's storied franchises, and in the early decades of the league they were even more dominant than they have been in recent years. Between 1920 and 1946, the Bears won 7 championships. But perhaps more remarkable are the 2 years that they didn't win the championship, 1934 and 1942. The 1934 Bears were the first NFL team to go undefeated in the regular season. Led by a dominant defense and coming off 2 straight league titles, the Bears outscored their opponents 286-86 on the way to a 13-0 season. They also featured the first 1,000-yard rusher in NFL history, Beatty Feiths. But the Bears ran into the New York Giants in the championship, suffered a massive letdown, losing 30-13. As a quick side note, maybe we should call the Giants Giant Killers, as they seem to have knocked off a lot of these teams who had major postseason letdowns. 8 years later, the Bears were back and again hoping to go undefeated and win the title. And once again, they were 2-time defending champs in 1942. This team was even more dominant, outscoring opponents 376-84. But once again, they were defeated in the postseason and their hopes were dashed, this time by the Washington Redskins, who defeated them 14-6 in the championship game. One other fun tidbit, that championship game represented a measure of revenge for the Redskins, who had been defeated by the Bears 73-0 in the most lopsided game in NFL history 2 seasons before. I've actually talked about that game in a previous episode, so check that out if you're interested in more information on that. So there you have it. The 6 biggest disappointments in NFL postseason history. Let me know if you've got a story you think belongs on that list, and I hope your teams have better luck this postseason. Thank you for watching. Like, comment, and subscribe. We'll see you next time.